So basically, just to give like a short little overview of what we're doing, kind of just a quick little podcast, mostly for us, right? To kind of stay accountable for the business strategies that we're doing, and it's really hard to start, or it's really easy to start something, and it's really hard to keep it going and stay persistent. So I think that's one of the reasons why we initially chose to do this little podcast, so it could serve serve as accountability for both of us. Most definitely. What do you think you're gonna gain from this?
In our previous discussions, I think one of the major topics has always been to follow something through, and that's something that we've both struggled with. You know what I mean? We have so many ideas floating around in our head, and we never seem to follow all the way through to the end, whether it be good or bad. And I think this is just something that'll help us out. Help us realize, okay, we can look back, see where we're at maybe a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago, and that can help us kind of gather ourselves if we're feeling lost or if we're feeling like giving up or moving on to something else. I feel like hearing ourselves say it and coming together like this, I feel like it's just something that could help us push forward.
Yeah, man, I definitely agree on that, because it's funny, every time we sit down and we have these talks, man, we talk for a long time. We talk for hours, and we both get like so passionate about the subject, but then we're both, we both have had a lot of instances where somewhere along the road we give up. You know what I mean? And it's funny of how many projects that we thought of or started and never we got to a certain point where we moved a little bit further, but I mean nowhere near to where it's gonna do anything, or if it proves the concept, if it's gonna be successful or not. I don't think either of us have pushed it that far. We kind of give up in the early stages where we move a little bit, we get a little bit done. And I think psychologically, I think it does something for us, right? That we made the first step, we made the first few steps. It kind of calms the urge that we have to start something, and then it's the other part, the discipline to keep on going, doing something every day that's going to improve our goals and our businesses. And that, I think that's something that we're both have struggled with.
For sure. Even like you said, alone and together, there's so many things that I've come up with myself personally, and I say to myself, okay, I'm going to work on this many times a day, this many times a week, and I do it for maybe a week or two, and then it starts becoming less and less, and then I end up just forgetting about it. And we've done that together. We've come together and been like, yo, what do you think about this idea? Like, oh, that sounds cool. Like, let's work on it. And right. I mean, me and you, we'll go to Barnes and Noble. Like, no, there's nobody behind us pushing us or anything like that. It's just us, and together we've come up with pretty good ideas. And I just think the biggest thing for us is staying on top of it. And I don't think we've done that 100% to our and to reach our full potential, because that's probably the biggest word between us is potential. We have the potential to do so many things, and we're right on the cusp of doing something cool or doing something that is just for us. Whether it is a business or just an idea, sometimes we'll just think of ideas, and whether or not it becomes big, I think sometimes it's just cool seeing it for us, to seeing it all the way through, seeing it become real.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I've come to a point where I don't really care. I care obviously, but I'm not attached to what the outcome is, as long as I give it my all during the whole process. You know what I mean? So if it's a failure, okay, cool, it's a failure. At least I know that it's not a good concept. But I can't say I didn't give it my all, and I think that's for both of us, where we haven't even got to the point where we could say we've reached failures, because we haven't even pushed anything that far to where it's like, okay, it's a failure, not a success.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Okay, yeah, man. So I think this is really gonna help us.
For sure, I think it is, man. I think taking the initiative to even start something like this, it's like we're back on the right track. We're back on, our mind is settled on accomplishing something.
Right. And I think what's cool also is that, I'm gonna post some of these on like social media and stuff, and if if other people start watching and we can help anyone in any way, whether it's motivating them to be persistent with their projects and goals, or if they learn any of the strategies or techniques that we're currently doing, I mean, that's cool. Whenever anybody else can also benefit from what we're doing, I think it's super awesome. And
Definitely.
I just love I love the whole subject. It gets me passionate, and I don't know, I love it, man.
I hear you, man, and I'm right behind you. So
yeah, man, let's start moving into pretty much the main topic of what all of these podcasts are going to contain, which is what we're currently working on and what some of our goals are for the week.
Yeah.
Let's start with you. What are you currently working on?
Well, as of right now, there's one main thing that I've been trying to accomplish and get around, which is this little event that I've had an idea about for quite some time. Basically, this event it's an outdoor event. It includes mainly just entertainment things, music, food, and a movie. And I feel like it's just something to fill this void that I feel like people our age have, which is not being able to find something to do besides going out and party. We hear that term a lot. We hear that term a lot with people our age here in the state of Arizona, here in the West Valley, that there's nothing to do in Arizona. It sucks, and I kind of the idea for this event is just kind of to approach that stigma of there's nothing to do in Arizona. I'm not originally from Arizona, but Arizona is so much a part of me that, I want to see it prosper, and I want to see people our age, be creative and have something to do. So I feel like this event is just the start of something that can turn into, much more, not necessarily continue the same thing of having music, food, and movies outside, but, I have ideas for other events as well. But I feel like this is a good start. This is something that, it's different. It's fun. I've approached a few people about it, and I've gotten good feedback. So that's number one. And basically getting a good location that's accessible for people from all parts of the valley, having, food vendors from places that cater to our generation of people. That way it makes everything more fun. It makes for a good night to remember, a good experience. So I think that's the number one thing I'm working on right now, and I think that's the number one thing I just want to create for this generation. It's moments and experiences that they can remember forever. So there's plenty of other things that I have in store of, trying to take on as far as events. But I think this is a good starting point.
Yeah, I definitely agree as far as a starting point. And we've talked about some of those other ideas, but I think that this is a good one for you to get involved in the whole event area, and see how that goes for you. Now, something that I really, really admire from you is, well, I admire a lot of things, bro, but one of the biggest things now that we're talking about this is how much you want to improve the community in our generation locally, because not everybody cares on a local level. And I think it's so cool that you want to just change the whole vibe and the whole way that this generation thinks. Especially just like you said, everybody says there's nothing to do here and this and that, which there is. It's just most people don't open their eyes, and then for you to be able to provide something specifically for our generation, which is the younger generation, like millennials. I think it's super awesome. Your approach is really cool because you actually care about the experience, and I think a lot of these bigger companies that do events don't really pay that much attention to it like you do.
Exactly.
I know that's one of your biggest, motivators is the experience, and I think that's just absolutely awesome, man.
And I appreciate that, bro, because it's something real, it's something real, and I can talk about it from a real perspective because I'm here, I'm living it, I'm a part of this generation. There's just something in me that's always about helping out other people, and I think that I just want to create cool stuff for people to always remember. Like it's the biggest. It's what you just said. It's about experiences. That's one of the biggest things for me. For people to have a memorable night, people to be able to take pictures and look back on it, and be like, wow, I remember how great this night was with my friends and meeting other people. And I just want people to have options to be able to do other things besides the norm. When there's things created like this, I feel like people get at least a little bit more inspired to go out and see what's different, what's not on their usual agenda, So I feel like this is a good starting point for sure.
I completely agree, bro. Now, let's move in a little bit into the strategic part of things, the actual fundamentals of getting the idea done, which is the part that we've been struggling. I don't think we've been struggling too much on what to do, but to actually do it, right? I think we've both gotten to points where we've planned out what we need to do, and it's just a matter of doing it. And we do start. I mean, you got to give us both credit that we do start these things. It's more in the middle of things where either something gets in the way, whether it's you go out with friends one night and then it just kind of throws out your whole momentum, or you come across a struggle or a challenge that you weren't expecting, which is going to happen, and sometimes it's a little bit hard to push through that, and it'll definitely slow us down. Let's talk more about those strategic parts. I know we talked about it that other night, but can you talk a little bit about what steps you're actually going to take to make this happen?
Yeah. Well, as of right now, I think one of the biggest things is being able to approach like parks and rec facilities from the different cities that I think this would fit most in. I feel like that's probably the biggest thing to get around is having everybody on board. There are, I don't know, I guess there are like certificates or permits that you have to have for certain things, and I get that. So just the little things, the little things that require my attention.
Is that sorry to cut you off, but
no, you're okay.
I hadn't heard you come across, or you hadn't mentioned that, is that one of the struggles that you faced lately, the certain permits and stuff like that?
Yeah.
What happened?
Well, it's different for every city. Like, for example, for Charleston, for Goodyear, for Phoenix, it doesn't seem too tricky. I haven't necessarily approached any Parks and Rec director and say, hey, this is what I want to do. Online you can find some of the restrictions that they have. You can't do this and you can't do that. For the most part, what I want to do, it requires to have insurance, just because there's inflatables. You have to get permission because there is a surround sound system. And for the food vendors, they have to have a permit with that city to be able to vend food. So that's another thing, that I was thinking about, because there's a lot of places from different parts of the valley, a lot of restaurants that I would like to be a part of this that are from different parts of the valley. So I'm not too sure how I could be like, hey, I know you guys are from Glendale, we're going to be doing this in Phoenix, but you guys have to have a Phoenix vendor's license with Phoenix, and if they don't want to be a part of it, it makes it a little bit harder. But those are the beginning steps, is having the location set, because that there's a lot of planning in that, with what I want to have.
Okay, cool, man.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yep. Yeah. So basically, there's nothing that seems too hard. I feel like it's just about contacting people and being not necessarily repetitive, but show them that you're really interested, because this is my first time actually trying to plan an event, and there's a lot of things that are involved in planning an event. At least, it's not a huge scale event, but it's not little at the same time. So there's kind of a lot of hoops that I have to jump through for people to be on board.
Right. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Last time we talked about it, we didn't even think of, the insurance and
there's insurance,
stuff like
there's
that.
Insurance things involved. I'm not necessarily too into having alcohol being sold at this particular event, which is even that would be another permit.
Right.
I
mean, I think it's probably pretty important to keep things as simple as possible.
Yeah.
For your first time around.
Yeah. And I was even thinking of having a multitude of vendors, but like you said, keeping it simple would probably be easier. So maybe sticking with one or two people who would be on board for this type of event, I think it would be okay.
Right.
So yeah, and even when we were talking about how many people would be in attendance, that then affects how many people I want there.
Right. Have you came to any conclusions as far as that?
Well, from my beginning thoughts, I always kind of wanted this to be somewhat exclusive, not necessarily the location, but to make it something where it's kind of limited to the people that would be in attendance. That way I can keep on doing it, because I know a lot of people, so if it's limited to a certain amount of people, I can keep on doing it and doing it and doing it, at least for a little while. When we sat down and talked, we were looking at obviously profit margins, and the more people that are there, the more that's going to help us. So the number that I've kind of been caught in between was no more than 100 and no less than like 75.
Okay, I think that's a good range.
Yeah.
And then it's funny you say that we started talking about more about the profit margin and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because I think both of us have different strengths, and I definitely think you're more of the creative guy with the different ideas. I mean, don't get me wrong, I have ideas too, but I just love how much you care about the experience, because not everybody has that same quality. You know what I mean? So I think that's super awesome. And then me, over the years, I have a lot of knowledge as far as business, even though I haven't, gone through with a lot of things, but I still do have, I do live off of my business, so I have some, experience as well, not just knowledge.
Yeah, and that's important that you state that, because I think that is a cool difference that we have. I go to you when we talk about these things. It's kind of like I'm going to you for a little bit of advisement, because you are a little bit more knowledgeable in that field of business. You have been exposed to things that have given you that business savvy. So I think that is one of the key components to our relationship, is that we have different strengths and that we help each other when we do definitely come together.
Right. No, yeah, I definitely, and now that you bring that up, once we start talking about what I'm doing, I have a couple questions for you on the side of the experience of things, and that part, the quality and that kind of stuff, but we'll get to that. Another question. So you talked, one of the biggest priorities right now is choosing a place and, making sure you have all those requisites that they ask for, whether it's the insurance, the permits for the vendors and stuff like that. So you have that in place. I know, because you told me that you've narrowed it down to a few places, and I think they're both in a few different cities, right? One's Phoenix, one's Goodyear and stuff like that.
Yeah, one in Tolleson.
Right, and one in Tolleson, which was the initial one that we were talking about. Now, once you make that decision on the actual place, what is your next step after that?
I think the next step after securing a location is getting the people that I want as far as vending and advertising, getting those people on board. Having them, see what I see of how we can potentially reach a lot of people from this generation, a lot of people that they already cater to, how we can reach them in different levels and how we can, up the level of experience in this thing that I want to create. So having those people on board, I think, would probably be the next step. I'm not assuring that I already know everybody who I told this to is going to come. I can't make that assumption that everybody's coming. But I feel like that would probably be the last step, just because I feel like a lot of people have confidence in me when I approach them with these kinds of things. And a lot of people
they do, yeah.
Yeah,
they,
a lot of people
definitely do.
A lot of people see me as like, okay, he's always trying to do something. And I along the years I've kind of always been that guy, like, oh, he's always up to something. That guy, he's always trying to do something, and I've never really actually done anything, but I feel like a lot of people have the confidence in me to believe in me. Like, if I invite them to a place, that they're going to go, they're going to show some love.
Right. No, I definitely agree. And I mean, I've known you for a long time now. I want to say it's probably been like 10 years.
Yeah, it's been about 10 years.
probably a little bit less. I don't remember exactly.
Closer to the 10-year mark, maybe in that now.
Yeah.
Like since like 2007 already.
Yeah.
Something like that. And
ever since I've met you, man, you've definitely been like a person of influence, right? Whether it was in the classroom or whatever it was, our group of friends. But you've always been a person of like influence where, people, I mean, for lack of a better word, follow you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whether it's a leadership type of characteristics from you or just that strong influence, you attract a lot of love from people. And I mean, that's been consistent for the whole time I've known you, ever since we were in middle school up to, through high school and even after high school. It's like it's kept, and, you can't say that when you were in middle school that you're always trying to do shit, you know what I mean? But you always had like that influence on people, and, people are attracted to like your presence. I don't know how to explain it, but it's like a person of influence, man.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So,
and I think it's I hope it's because I've always just shown respect to people. You know what I mean? I've never been out to wrong anybody, and I feel like people can just tell that I'm genuine when they talk to me. So
exactly.
That's just the biggest thing that I want people to feel, is like I'm always going to be genuine, whether I tell you I like you or I don't like you. I'm always going to be genuine about the things that I say.
I agree, man. Like, I definitely, that's a lot better word than what I use, genuine. But I definitely think that's a word that kind of describes your personality and who you are. You're always true to yourself first, and you never pretend to be someone you're not. You know what I mean? So I think that shows, that shows through you, and that's why you have such a strong influence with people. You know what I mean? They believe you, whether it's good or bad. I mean, they believe in you and they believe you, which I think is super cool, man. Not everyone has that. Yeah.
So like what we were saying about, not to get too off topic because we can, but that leads me to say, I feel like inviting the people is the last part, obviously, because I feel like it's probably going to be the easiest step for me. So, step one, getting that location secured. Step two, getting the people that I want involved on board. And step three, doing a little bit of doing a little bit on the marketing side, getting the word out about, getting the word out across to people in a way where they'll be interested, because there's been a lot of instances where I've had people I talk to people about something and they don't really believe me, or they don't really see how I see it. And that's the biggest thing to getting across to them, is that this is going to be something different, a new experience that isn't the norm around here. So
yeah, and I think that's normal. I mean, everybody, especially the people that you don't have that strong influence with, whether it's because you're not that close to them or whatever, they don't know you too well. But there's always going to be skeptic people. I mean, there's always going to be the people who just don't believe or don't see the vision. And I think that's fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. If they want to come through and see and see for themselves if they can see the vision, or if they don't. I mean, I don't think you should stress on those people that don't believe it, because once you do prove yourself with the people that do show up and they really experience what you want them to experience, it's gonna, by nature, man, it's just gonna go word of mouth that it's gonna spread. So I wouldn't worry too much on those people that don't believe in you, man. I wouldn't let it bring me down or whatever. Yeah, I'd try to make them come through, but I wouldn't stress. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. So,
no, I was gonna say. So we were talking about vendors a little bit, just to not get too off topic. Yeah. And I know you have a couple food vendors in mind and stuff like that. And then we had a couple different ideas as far as strategy, if you wanted, because one of the ways that this was going to work out financially was for the customers themselves to actually pay for the event, and then for the vendors to pay as well. And I know we spoke briefly about having the ticket that the customers buy, have a meal included or something included. Have you thought anything further in any of that, or have you discarded it completely? I mean, what are you thinking?
I kind of did. I haven't really gone back to that too much, where it's they buy a ticket and they're kind of buying already prepaid food.
Right.
I kind of let go of that idea, just because it wasn't something that was floating around in my head at first.
Mm-hmm.
And I never thought that it was a bad idea. I always thought it definitely could work if I'm able to kind of get one person on board and be like, hey, if you guys kind of cater this whole thing, through the charge of the ticket, you'll get the portion of however much the food costs.
Right.
So I never really thought about it through. I always just thought about that rate to the person. And on top of that, having them pay for whatever they're going to buy there.
Yeah.
So,
and, I mean, I don't think either of them are a bad idea. You know what I mean? I don't necessarily think one is better than the other, because if you, after thinking about it a little bit more, if you include, once you start including more with the actual price of the ticket, a lot of people might not know this, but your margins are already small. You know what I mean? You're doing this because you want to, and you feed off of that experience that we keep talking about.
Yeah.
So I think it might possibly bring your margins just to a point where it's not worth doing, and I don't think that's going to be good for you. So, I mean, I'm not saying one's better than the other one, but, if you choose not to do that, I don't think it's a bad idea.
Yeah. I mean, and to begin with, the reason we're even charging a price, obviously, is to cover all of our expenses.
Exactly. I mean, I get what you're saying. We're not, you're not trying to get rich off of this.
For sure.
You know what I mean? It's just not going to happen unless it was a big scale, or you're asking a lot of money from these people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're trying to make it as affordable as possible and give them the best experience possible, but obviously you need some money to fund that experience, because you're not rich right now to just be doing these free things for people and be several $1,000s out of pocket just for the experience of other people. I mean, I'm sure if you had the money, you'd probably do it. You're that kind of person, but that's not the point.
It's not the option right now, for sure.
Exactly. So we talked a little bit about the actual place. We talked a little bit about the vendors. Something I hadn't brought up to you, and I don't know if this is, a good option or not. But as far as like vendors and stuff, because I know it's important, especially because it's 75 to 100 people, and you don't want it to be too crowded from vendors, but you do want a couple there. I think one option that might work for you, and I'm not sure how it would work or anything like that, but if several businesses in the area, or in the area of interest of your actual customers in your audience, if they can put up banners around the event and stuff like that with them without them actually being there. I mean, I think that's something that could work for you, because that's a little bit extra money. Obviously, they're not going to pay like if they had a little tent set up, but but they might add up. And like I said, I don't know exactly how it works, but I think it might be a good option so that you're not saturated with all these.
I hear that. I hear that for sure.
Advertisers and stuff.
It makes sense. Yeah, and I was even thinking of people being involved outside of food. Of having people that just like that store that just opened up that we keep talking about. Man,
dude, that'd be dope.
Having
that would be dope.
Having the backing of those type of people that already cater to the audience that we're targeting, I feel like that. If people see that name there, obviously it rings a bell. They're like, okay, they're a part of this. It has to be official.
And what's cool, man? If you team up with these small local shops, and specifically with Manor or Play Outside, because we know both of them, but it'd be pretty cool. And I hadn't even thought about this, but it'd be pretty cool if you had a little tent set up with Manor shirts and stuff like that.
Yeah,
maybe not necessarily with the brands that they carry, but just their own brand. Yeah, his own brand, because I know he has some pretty cool hats, dude.
He has
some cool hats. He has some cool shirts. It's pretty cool, dude. It's a cool business, a cool brand. It just, for the people that don't know, but it just opened a few weeks ago, right?
Yeah, it's maybe it's on the verge of its month anniversary,
Right.
Not even that long, but definitely, I feel like having outside forces, even Cowtown is they're local. A lot of people know them. Having those type of people that are because that obviously is what we're trying to push is local.
The local,
shit, the local shit. So I feel like having those type of people on board is definitely would be a plus for us.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, we hadn't even, or at least I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really, really cool. Okay, so we talked a little bit about the where you're gonna have this, where you're gonna host this place, the vendors, pretty much how you're gonna market to these people. At least the first round, you have a lot of people that and people that you influence.
Just a little list that I've created is 200 plus people that I know personally.
Wow, yeah, so, that's awesome.
So
that's insane.
I
think that's over the years. I mean, probably if I were to guess, I would say over the past 5 years specifically, I've separated myself from a lot of people, and it's helped me. But then I also see how it could kind of, in a way, hurt me, especially if I'm doing something like what you're trying to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because having that influence with people and having that connection with people is really important, especially when you're starting something, having those first initial customers. I mean, 200 people that you can personally reach out to and that are part of that market. And I mean, I'm sure you have a pretty strong influence with almost all of them. I know you do. You know what I mean? So I think that's really, really cool, man. Because I can definitely say for myself, in the past 5 years since I've distanced myself, I can't come up with 200 names of people that I have pretty good influence with. I can think of maybe 20, or 50, but not 200, man. That's really cool.
I really sat down and I'm like, damn, this is a long list, bro. But no, I hear what
that's
you're
awesome.
saying.
Yeah, that's incredible.
And I can give you an example of that, because I'll go out and people will be like, oh, like, who do you still talk to, this and that. I'm like, well, my usual friends, Kevin, this and that. People will be like, Kevin, how is that guy? I haven't seen him in forever. He disappeared. I get that every time, and it's so funny that you say that. But I mean, like you said, it has been it's been a time for you to be away, and that I know that it's helped you a lot. I know that it's helped you.
Oh yeah,
at the same time,
I mean,
I can
I
say
don't
for sure,
regret
as your friend,
you know what I mean?
as your friend, I can say, and I can see where it has hurt, your other relationships with people. So.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I mean, and it's, I mean, how do I explain it? It's definitely a decision I made, you know what I mean? It's not something that just kind of happened. I purposely made the decision, and I don't regret it because I've evolved as a person so much since the moment I was 15, 16 years old to now that I, just turned 20 a couple months ago. Yeah. It's, I'm a whole different person than I was back then. And not that I was a bad person or anything like that, but I've evolved a lot. And, we just talked about, we were talking about earlier, I have a lot of business knowledge because it's what I'm passionate about. And if I wouldn't have done those things, I wouldn't be able to say that I have the knowledge that I have.
I hear that.
You know what I mean? So it's like a good and bad thing, like a double-edged sword, man. But, for me personally, I feel like the pros do outweigh the cons for me. And I mean, don't get me wrong, man. I had a lot of, other than our close group of friends, I had a lot of other really good friends also that I just made the decision to distance myself. Not because they were bad people either, though. I don't want anyone to think that I think that they're a bad person, but it was just
you dropped them because they're like
because I'm better than them or anything like that. That's definitely not the case, but it's just a lot of times you need that time to focus. You know what I mean? And it's done me really good, man. I don't regret it, but I see how it affects in a way, but I feel I made the right decision.
Yeah, man. Hey, and now we're here. Now we're
exactly.
Here.
Yeah, I don't think we'd be having this talk if it wasn't for that decision that I made about 5 years ago.
Yep.
That's funny, man.
Not lying.
So let's recap a little bit. We talked about the event. We talked about where to have it, a little bit of marketing, a little bit about the vendors and stuff like that. Let's talk a little bit
kind of on all parts, at least.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about what your goals are for this week. Like, what are some of the things that you have to get done this week in order to move forward? Because I know you first initially reached out to people and you told them it was going to be this month. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I told you, now you have to do it, bro. There's no going back. And that's the beauty about reaching out to people and kind of proving your concept is that if you get a positive response, man, now you have to do it. You already opened your mouth.
Yep.
You know what
exactly.
I mean?
And I think that those words that you keep telling me, now you have to do it, is what has kept me at least a little bit on top of taking care of something. It's like, now I really have to do it because people are believing in me to do this because I already told them I was going to do it. So, but
exactly.
To answer your question, this week has been a little bit more of a personal week because I'm still in the midst of going to school, so I did all that. I got all my schoolwork done. I signed up for school again. I am looking right now currently for a job because I am unemployed because I need at least something to fund, the things that I want to do for sure. So that is it. Those are two things that kind of been weighing on me for this week that, I wanted to get out of the way. So I got my school out of the way. I had a few places that I went to go visit, talk to some people about, job opportunities. And at least we're halfway through the week now, and I got those things out of the way at least a little bit. There hasn't been much of planning for this actual event, that I've taken on this week. But I definitely feel like what I haven't done and that I keep telling myself I'm going to do is to reach out to the people that I want on board. So I feel like that's probably something that I should be working closer to achieve, is getting that done, I guess I could say it in this way a little bit, that I have been a little bit afraid to approach people because they're sponsored and things like that, or because I don't know.
Are you talking about like vendors or like?
Yeah. Not the people that are going to attend the event, but the vendors.
Okay.
It's been a little daunting for me because it's like I don't know if I'm going to approach them the right way. I don't know what they're going to say. I don't know how to go. I've never done this, But I feel like just getting one foot in there by even saying it, it doesn't matter what the first 5 responses are. It doesn't, they know, at least people know what it is I'm trying to do, and that way I get a little bit better of communicating what I'm trying to do. So that for this week, I feel like maybe actually setting a number of reaching out to 10 different businesses and being like, hey, this is what I'm going to do, or would you guys be willing to do this? So that's probably
that's a good
check mark.
Yeah, that's a good goal for this week, especially because we're halfway. We're only halfway through the week, so you have time to reach out to some people. And I've been in sales for a long time, so I think I can help you with a couple tips there on as far as overcoming that fear and stuff, because that fear is really real. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's easy to plan out, but once you have to take those approaches and those steps, and then especially this one where you're basically selling your idea to these vendors. If I were to give you some tips, man, the number one tip that I can give you, and it will apply to you very specifically, is to stay genuine. You're such a good person, man. Your intentions are so good. You don't have bad intentions. Stay true to who you are, why you're doing it. Tell them about the type of people that you're reaching, because you got to make sure that that the vendors that you're reaching have the target audience that you're targeting as well. You know what I mean? And that leads me to my second tip, which is to once you stay genuine, you got to tell them. At the end of the day, you got to tell them what's in it for them, and you got to make that clear. You know what I mean? Nobody does things for free. We're all in this world to make money, man. Unfortunately, whether it's a good or a bad thing, but we're all in this world to make money or to have some type of gain. So you got to make it really clear to them what's in it for them. I would, like I said, I would only approach vendors who have the same target market that you have. You know what I mean? Because if you can say you have these 75 to 100 people in their target market, people who are their ideal customer in one event, I mean, that's outrageous and that's great for them. Why wouldn't they want to be there? You know what I mean? It's not like a random event where there's all kinds of people, there's families, there's this, there's that.
It's something that's directed towards a certain
Exactly. The audience is very specific, and that's, the more specific, the better for the vendors. So if you paint that picture to them, there's no reason why they wouldn't want to work with you. Now, I'm not going to say you're not going to get rejected, because you are, bro. Out of those 10 people, you might have 1 or 2 people that say yes. You know what I mean? But you can't be scared of rejection, because then you'll never do anything, and it's going to make you nervous. And, you can't go in there and be like, you don't want this, do you? You know what I mean? Like, you can't.
Are you guys cool with this? Or
exactly. You can't.
It's being a bit. I'm not afraid. Let me try to put this the right way. It's not that I'm not afraid of rejection. Obviously, everybody is afraid to some degree of rejection.
Right.
I'm not uncomfortable with talking to people I don't know. But I guess it's just that nervous feeling that you get before doing something you're not sure of,
Absolutely,
And that's probably the biggest thing for me, is just being nervous about, once I get once I have that conversation with the first person, the second person, you know, obviously I'll get better at talking to them. So like I said, I think that's
alrighty, man. So yeah, and like I said, the most important thing, like if you just had to focus on one thing, man, it's just to be yourself and, you know, tell them why you're doing it, what drives you, which is the experience, and, you know, who that target market is for you, because that's, you know, that's what they want. Why wouldn't they want to work with someone like that?
Yeah, and I think
you know
I think I even mentioned that to you at one point. It's like, I don't see why not these people wouldn't do it. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's nothing, you know, other than the fact that they may be busy or they just don't want to do it, but there's not many reasons for them to be like, this seems iffy, I don't want to do it. So
exactly.
I hear what you're saying, for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, it you know, just like we're saying, why not? I think that's also an important question to ask them. Like, if they don't want to be a part of, now you can't ask it in an arrogant way. But if you ask it in a genuine, like if you ask it in a genuine way and you really want to know the answer, it's going to help you, because you're going to know maybe some of the objections that they have, and it's going to help you when you go and present to other, you know, to other vendors.
Yeah.
So, because a lot of them probably have common objections, whether it's, you know, I don't have the money, or which I doubt is, you know, going to be an objection. But you really, the most important part is for you to paint the value to them. You know, why is this worth it for them? Well, you're going to have, you know, 75 to 100 people who are in your target market.
In one place at one night.
In one place at one night. And you're a cool company, just like I'm a cool event. And, you know, those type of things vibe together. And I think you're going to get a lot of sales out of it. You know what I mean?
Cool.
My people, you know, my people fuck with people like you. And, you know, it's that type of vibe, bro.
Exactly.
All right, cool. So just to recap before I let you go, for this week, we said that, you know, for the rest of the week, some of the goals for you are just talk to about 10 to 12 vendors and, you know, to start approaching them about this. Have you thought about, like, a price point of, like, what you want them to pay to be part of it or anything like that?
I'm not too sure. No, I couldn't say for you. I couldn't say for sure to you. You know, I think we stuck at between $100 to $200 mark. I think between us, we had discussed that. I'm not too sure what is like.
I think it depends, man. I mean, it depends, because when you think of events, you know, they're usually a little bit bigger, and you know, vendors will pay from $250 to $500 sometimes, you know, to be part of the event. And well, I think the value that you can provide them, that, you know, I think you're going to be able to charge them a little bit more, is that, you know, you have these people who are in a very specific target audience. Okay. You know what I mean? They're a very specific target audience. And then something that you need to figure out is, okay, what they sell and what can you project that they're going to sell at your event? I mean, because obviously first they got to break even, and then they got to make a pretty good profit for it to be worth it to them, you know? So those are some of the things that you need to think of before you approach them.
I think some of the factors that weigh in are, you know, how long is the event going to be? Where is it at, comparatively speaking, to where their location is? And for me, it's like a factor is how many vendors am I actually going to have? You know, because like you said in the beginning, one of the reasons we're having vendors even is, you know, to be able to cover some of our end. Some of our costs. So if I have just two, am I going to charge those two people a lot more than I would charge for having five, you know?
I think so, because you got to, that's another value proposition towards them, is that, you know, they have that exclusivity to only be one of the couple vendors that's going to be there, and the other vendor is not even in the same, you know, it's not a competitor. You know what I mean? I didn't even think of, you know, of having someone like Manor or a local shop there. But I mean, if you think about it, he's gonna make pretty good profit off his shirts and his hats.
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
so, and then to have 75 to 100 people there, I mean, it's a pretty cool event for him to be part of. I'm sure he's gonna sell some shirts and hats.
Yeah, man, definitely. I'll definitely hit him about that. I mean, we're definitely on a cool level right now, and I even have he gave me his personal number to have, and I hit him up, and
right.
We're on the same page because I asked him to be a part of his of what he has going on, and he said whenever he definitely has the opportunity to get me on board, that he would love to. So I'll for sure have that discussion with him about that.
Oh yeah, I mean, this is your opportunity to get him on board.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, so that's pretty cool that you've got a pretty good relationship going on with him. When you're targeting these vendors, man, you got to realize people like him and that do things like he does, because he's another guy, man. He really cares about the culture.
Yeah,
he really does, man. I was talking to him. I haven't talked to him as much as you have, but I did talk to him for like a good 20 or 30 minutes, and he really cares about the culture, man. He wants to be that that shop that really cares about the quality and the overall culture, which is the number one thing that I got from him.
Yeah,
is that he's really that type of dude. He ain't doing it necessarily for the money and anything like that, but you can tell, just like Anthony, man, they
that's
both,
another guy for sure.
They both really care about that environment. I mean, that culture, the vibes, man, they really care about that stuff, and I think that's awesome, because like I said, not everybody is about that.
Exactly.
Not everybody's about that, man. So don't stress out too much. You got it, man. Stay true to yourself.
About the approach,
Yeah, stay true to yourself, man.
Thank you, man. That's definitely reassuring for me.
Yeah, all you got to do is you got to really show them how passionate you are about it, and how much you care. They care. Now it's your turn to show them how much you care about the culture and and stuff like that, which that you do care about it quite a bit, man. So it's not going to be a hard sell whatsoever. You know both guys, and a lot of other people too. So those are just a couple of the tips, man. But you're gonna do good. I think we're gonna do this once a week, right? I think
I didn't expect us to conversate this long, but it got definitely interesting as we kept going. The next one, you kind of want it. We should definitely focus a little bit more on you, on the things that you're doing and the things that you're working on and working towards.
Yeah, well, what I was actually thinking of doing is doing 2 every week. So like one with you and then one with me, so that way we can both, even if it's just for us, that we can look back at every week and see what we're up to and stuff like that, and how much we've improved and stuff like that. So we'll do the second part of this interview a little bit later, maybe tomorrow, and then I'm thinking every
Sounds
Monday, like every Monday or every Tuesday of every week to do the same thing, man.
I'm with that, bro, for sure, 100%. I feel like, man, we got a lot out again. We got the engine rolling again about, how I can approach the things that I need to take care of for this event and this project. So it's cool, definitely. I really enjoyed it.
All right, we'll continue part 2 a little bit later.
Sounds good, my dude.
Take care, brother.
All right, bro. Have a good night.